In this video, we will look at the steps, the timeline, the cost, and the risk associated with British Columbia's entrepreneur immigration stream. This video is part 2 of British Columbia's entrepreneur immigration series. To watch the previous video, click on the icon above here and stay tuned for the next video that will come after this. To watch the third video that will come after this one, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications by clicking the bell icon so you can know as soon as I upload the next video. So let's get started. My name is Rashid Ali. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant from Canada, and through this channel I share videos on Canadian immigration, especially the business immigration program, so you don't have to spend a lot of time on the internet searching for that information from different inauthentic sources. I share information based on my experience, knowledge, and research. These videos are for information purposes only, and if you need legal advice, feel free to get in touch. For British Columbia's entrepreneur immigration stream, the base category, there are 6 major steps that you have to take to be successful. The first step is business exploration and research. It is important to be clear on your business concept. There are a lot of people who think if they have the right amount of money, they don't need to do anything else. It's kind of like a passive investment program. But that's not true. This and other entrepreneur immigration programs are active business management programs, which means you have to actively run a business in Canada. You have to make sure that you do your research and due diligence to make that business a success. And you need to prove this to the immigration authorities. That's why business research is very critical. What kind of a business do you want to get into? What will be the location of that business? How much money do you realistically need to invest to make that business a success? Even though the minimum investment criteria mentioned by the government is $200,000, but for your particular business, will $200,000 be enough, or do you need to invest $600,000, $800,000, $1 million? You should be very clear on that for your business. How many jobs will you create? The location that you're choosing, does that make sense for your particular business type? What are the competitors like? What will be the potential costs in that particular region? You need to be clear on all of those things before you submit your online expression of interest. There are a lot of useful websites for this purpose that I will also link in the description, but it is always very useful for you to get a TRV, a visitor visa for Canada, visit British Columbia and look at those locations and meet with those people, those important stakeholders, to make sure you are very clear on your business concept. Now let's talk about the time and fee for this step. How long you take for this totally depends on you. You can do this by yourself, or you can also hire some market researchers to do this for you. They will charge you a fee for that depending on the scope of their research. Most of the applicants will need to get either a visa or an ETA, electronic travel authorization, to enter into Canada. So you need to spend money on that, your visa and travel cost, or you might spend money on market researchers. They can charge anywhere from a couple of $1,000 to several $1,000s. So that totally depends on you whether or not you want to utilize their services. But as an entrepreneur, you should be able to do this research by yourself by visiting Canada and online. So what are some of the failure points? I think the biggest failure point at this step is not realizing the criticality of different steps of this application. Not realizing that it is very important to do your due diligence. Be very clear on the business concept. Some people think that $600,000 net worth, $200,000 investment doesn't seem like a lot and you can easily be successful just because you have that money. But a solid understanding of your business concept is needed to be successful in this program. You also need to realize that in order to get PR, you will need to spend at least 75% of your time in British Columbia. A lot of people have businesses in other parts of the world, or they're working in senior managerial positions and they're not ready to quit those jobs or those businesses. Whereas with this program, imagine spending 75% of your year in Canada, which means that you will have to make some sacrifices. It's very important to be clear on what the requirements are. The second step is to create an online expression of interest or a profile. So this is the step where you're sharing your business concept with the government. You're telling them what kind of a business do you want to start, how much of a net worth do you have, how much amount of money you will invest, all of those things. And you have to remain consistent with this information. So say you fill in this information in the beginning in a hurry without doing a lot of research. The government then invites you to apply, and then you start doing more research and realize that some of the information that you provided doesn't make a lot of sense and you need to change it. You won't be able to do it at the application stage. You have to remain consistent with the information you provide at the EOI stage. That is why it's always very good to do the exploratory visit before you submit the online expression of interest. Now let's look at the time and fee for this step. The government will charge you a fee of 300 Canadian dollars to submit this expression of interest. They usually respond within 6 weeks, but it can be longer. If you're not shortlisted, you will remain in the pool for a few months and then your EOI will expire. Failure points. The biggest failure point is not scoring enough points to be invited for the next step. If you don't have enough points, either because of a lower net worth or because you're not creating enough jobs or because of the investment, you just won't be invited to apply for the next steps because there are only limited number of applicants who are invited every year, and we'll look more at that data in the next video. Another failure point is not doing your research and thus having to make changes during the application stage, which will result in failure. Step 3 is application submission. If the BC government likes your EOI, they will then invite you to submit a detailed application. This application will include a business plan. This will include an official net worth report from one of the big accounting firms in Canada. So you will have to spend some money there. So this will basically be a proof of all the information that you shared at the EOI stage. You have to prove that you're being consistent with that. Now let's look at the time and cost. The government will give you 4 months, that's the current criteria, to submit this application, to go through your net worth evaluation, business plan, all of those things. And once you submit your application, they usually take about 3 to 4 months to process it, to let you know whether they want to approve your application or whether they'll refuse it. In terms of cost, the application fee for this step is 3,500 Canadian dollars. Net worth valuation can vary anywhere from $3,500 to about $5,000–6,000. Business plan fee, also there is a lot of variation, anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, and if you add market research, it could be much more than that. You might also need to spend some money to get your documents translated into English, and if you're hiring a licensed immigration consultant, you'll be paying their fee as well. Now let's look at some of the failure points. This is a very critical step. This is the step where you're actually submitting your application. So now the government is going to thoroughly look at your application, and some of the things that are really important is your business plan not being comprehensive enough. Let's take an example of investment. Say you're saying in your business plan that you'll invest $50,000 in marketing. The important thing is, have you thought this through? In your particular line of business, looking at the market situation, looking at what your competitors do, looking at the industry norms, is $50,000 enough, or is it too much or too little for marketing? And if you talk about marketing in general, that won't be enough. You'll have to be very specific on what kind of marketing do you need, what channels of marketing will you follow, what is your target customer that you want to target and market towards. All of these things are very important. And if it doesn't make sense to spend this much amount of money, or if you haven't justified it, it could result in a refusal, because this gives an indication that you haven't thought this through, and it will be difficult for you to be successful in your business. Similarly, a lot of people are very good at identifying their customers, but how will you penetrate that market? What is your strategy to gain entry into that market? How will you get their business? Being very clear on that is important. A lot of people do look at their competitors. What will be your competitive edge in the market? That is also very important in this business plan, because if your business is just like any other competitor out there, how will you get that share of the business in the market? You have to be different. You have to think outside the box, and this must be shown in your business plan. Step 4. If your application is approved, you will be asked to come in for an interview and sign a performance agreement. The performance agreement is the stage where you make all of the commitments. Like, I will invest $300,000. I will start my business in this location, and this will be the particular business type. I will create X number of jobs. These commitments have to be fulfilled within 1 year of you landing in Canada, because that will be part of your report that you will submit to the government. If you fulfill all of these conditions, you will be nominated for PR. Time and cost. If you already have a TRV or a visitor visa, you don't have to apply for that. You will simply fly to Canada in that location. If there are no travel restrictions at that time, you'll go through your interview. But if you haven't applied for a TRV, it might be a challenging situation for you, because the TRV processing itself might take a couple of months. The fee associated with this step is mainly around the traveling cost, the visa fee, if you haven't already applied for a visa during your exploratory visit. Now let's look at the failure points. Some people are surprised by this, but your TRV application can actually be refused. Just because you applied for an entrepreneur immigration program doesn't mean that you will definitely get a visa. Your TRV, your visit visa, can be refused. So that's one of the failure points, and that has happened with some people. Another failure point is not having a thorough understanding of your business plan. Say you hire someone to write your business plan for you and you don't have a good understanding of your business plan. During the interview, you will be asked questions about your business plan, and if you don't answer them properly, your application can be refused. So I'm not suggesting that you definitely hire someone to write your business plan. What I'm suggesting is you can take help from someone to write your business plan, but it should be your business plan. The ideas should be flowing from you. You can take some help, but you need to be really involved in the development of that business plan. Step 5 is the work permit stage. This is where you will apply for your work permit. Once your work permit is approved, you will land in Canada. You can apply for your spouse's open work permit, your dependent children's study permits. You will land in Canada, set up your business, run it for at least a year before submitting your report so you can be nominated. Time and fee. This step will take at least 1 year because you have to run your business for at least 1 year before you submit your report and you can be nominated. In terms of fee, the work permit fee itself is $155. You will also pay fee for your dependent children's study permits if applicable, and for your spouses or common law partners open work permit. Also, all of the money that you said you would invest, this is the stage where you will actually invest all of that money in your business, either for buying it or for starting a new business. Failure points. One of the failure points could be that your work permit is refused. Another failure point is that you didn't spend enough time in the province. So instead of 75% of your time, you spend half of your time in the province and half of your time in another province in Canada or outside of Canada, or you were more than 100 kilometers away from your principal place of business. That can also cause problems. Or you just entered too late in Canada and your work permit simply expired before you could enter. Step 6 and final step is nomination for PR. Once you manage your business in Canada for at least 1 year, you will then submit a report outlining how you fulfilled your commitments from the performance agreement so you can be nominated for PR. British Columbia will then issue you a nomination certificate you can then use to apply for PR with the federal government or IRCC. Time and fee. This step can take on average about 2 years because the federal government is currently taking about 2 years to process this application. It could be quicker than that, it could take more time, but on average 2 years is what you can expect. The fee for adults, so for yourself and your partner, is about $1,325, and for dependent children it is $225. Failure points. One of the biggest failure points, as mentioned earlier, is not spending enough time in the province. Another failure point is, in one way or another, you didn't meet the commitment of your performance agreement. So say you didn't invest the right amount of money, or you didn't run your business for the complete amount of time. Even if there is a family emergency or something like that, and you fail to inform the government and you make changes in your performance agreement without letting them know, you could still fail. So it is very important to have clear communication with the British Columbia to make sure that you're aligned and your nomination is not at risk. So on the whole, from start to end, it can easily take 4 years for you to get your PR through this process. Now, these were the high-level steps, the timelines, fee, and failure points. These are not all of the failure points. There are a lot of other things that can happen, a lot of other details. So if you are going through this program, I would encourage you to get professional help if you can. If you're interested in applying for this program, feel free to fill in the questionnaire in the description and we can set up a consultation and go from there. In the next video, we will look at the scoring criteria in a lot of detail to see how much points you can score and what was the minimum amount of points required to succeed in the past. If you liked this video, if you found it helpful, let me know, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell icon to stay tuned for the next video and future videos. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next video.